How's it going? How's it going? This is your boy Chris Roby from Hobby Collision. Let me see if I can adjust this a little bit. I guess that's a little better. Um, yeah, so the Denver Broncos ended up winning the Super Bowl. It's a very thing for me as a Broncos fan because we haven't had a Super Bowl, uh, probably since like 1999, I think was the last one, or 98, something like that. Yeah, so about 17, 18 years, I believe, without a championship. So it's a very sweet feeling to come out there to have a Super Bowl championship, and it just very much makes you, happy for your team. So I'm not gonna break down like every single part of the game necessarily, but I'm gonna definitely say that Cam Newton did not look like the guy that we're used to seeing out there. Going undefeated, they should have had some things um, going a little bit better for them, and they really did not. So I don't really know what to say about those guys. You know what I mean? Uh, it it would seem more beneficial for that team, if they would have let Cam Newton run a little bit more. There's also the controversy of why did he jump away from the ball when he could have got the fumble back for the Panthers, and it seemed like he jumped away from the pile, let a Denver Bronco jump right on it. There's also the fact that I guess maybe he heard Chris Harris talking about their game plan to shut Cam Newton down, and he was upset, so he stormed off um, away from the press during a presser or press meeting or whatever you call it. Yeah, so I mean, there's a whole lot of stuff we can get into revolving the Super Bowl. Um, I just want to say I'm super proud of the Denver Broncos, of my team, of my defense, and Brandon Marshall of the Denver Broncos. He's I don't know what his actual position is. I think he's like one of the linebackers or something. Maybe a full safety, strong safety, maybe something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but I know he's a big part of our defense and he's a very good player. So he basically said he thinks that they're number one, uh, like the number one defense ever, and he says, "Sorry, I'm not really promoting Spidey today. It's just kind of how it turned out. Got the little Spider-Man sweater on and stuff." But anyway, uh, yeah, he thinks they're number one defense. Reportedly, the 1986 Bears or whatever the year was held only allowed 10 points within their playoff run. I think that's what it was. Obviously Denver's allowed more than that, but it's I don't know who those Bears teams played necessarily in those playoffs, but the most dominant offense in the league, the Denver Broncos just shut down. A team that usually gets 31 points in the first half. Not to mention that they shut down Tom Brady, who last time I checked is possibly the best quarterback in the league, which I tend to think Cam is actually the best quarterback in the league now. Congrats to him. He got the MVP trophy. Definitely a successful season for him. Not as much for the Panthers, I guess, but at least they can say they won 15 games. That's still successful. At least they can say they got to the Super Bowl, I guess, but they haven't won one whenever they go. So not sure how successful that is. But when you look at the Panthers, they haven't been to the Super Bowl a lot, but at least they've been there two or three times since 1993 when they started or whenever. Because like the Detroit Lions, I'm not so sure they've ever been to the Super Bowl. If they were there once, they lost. So I mean, the Panthers are doing pretty good as far as franchise if you look at it that way. But yeah, I mean you gotta win, at some point. But I just think it's funny. You look at um, Seattle and you look at Denver now, and they've basically done the same thing in 3 years. They've won one, lost one, Super Bowl, and that's basically what Seattle's done too. So I love what John Elway's done. He's the vice president of the team or in general manager or whatever his actual titles are. I know he used to be vice president. I don't know what his actual titles are now and all that, but he has a lot of say though, and I think he also helps put this team together and stuff like that. So, it's really interesting when you look at what they've done because they got rid of John Fox. John Elway, I believe, thought that that was a hindrance, and apparently he's right because a year later we win a Super Bowl. They try to go to the run, which as a Broncos fan I get really frustrated with because I feel like you're punting on fourth down, so you got 3 downs to do something. You're a lot. I think you're most likely not, especially if you can't run the ball that good. You're not going to get first downs, and I really think that might be a big part of our problem in the offense. But is that they're like, oh, it's first down, let's go ahead and run it. Oh, it's second down, let's run it. Oh, it's third down. Why don't you get us a first down with only one try, Peyton? It's like, okay, couldn't we have thrown the ball like on second down too, or like first down and then third down or something? Like, I feel like that hurts our offense, honestly, and it has to do. Um, I understand what running has to do, and I'm by no means like a genius when it comes to this stuff, but I just think there's got to be a way to throw at least a little bit more, than we do, because the run, I feel like most of the year hasn't been as successful as we were hoping. Um, I think you still got to run it. C.J. Anderson is really good at times. And you want to get some of those really explosive runs like he's had because he's picked up a lot of yardage. Ronnie Hillman, I'm disappointed in because at times he looked like he was good and he hasn't seemed as good um, of late. But C.J. Anderson knows how to break tackles and he knows what he's doing out there. So I definitely think he's maybe our back of the future. I don't know what we need to do. Um, I think we're gonna have Brock in there next year, so that I think that was maybe working out better with the running when Brock was in there. Cause Peyton Manning likes to do a lot of the like stand farther away from the center type of stuff, and I don't think that works as good with the run. Maybe, although when Peyton Manning first came back and Brock went out, Peyton Manning was making the. That was our last game against. It was against San Diego. That was the last game of the season, and Peyton Manning really made the run look a lot better. So, and I've seen when Peyton went out, Brock made it look better. So it gets confusing, But um, and then there was times during the Super Bowl where I felt like if only we put Brock out there, I think we could actually move the ball a lot better too. But it's there's so many things involved that it's really hard to tell. I mean, Brock might have accidentally thrown an extra pick, at the very worst time. At least the one with Manning, the defense stopped him. But I mean, if you throw it a little bit, closer to a field goal, if like say if Brock did at some point or something, it's hard to tell with all these scenarios because it only turned out the way it turned out, obviously. But I just feel like it's such a big win for Denver right now. I'm super happy. Like my team hasn't won a Super Bowl in a long time. We get to say we're the NFL champs next year. and the pride that that Denver defense has for everything they've done for us all year long, beating teams that we shouldn't have beat. All year long, people were like, "Oh, gonna lose this game. You're gonna lose this game. Oh, you're gonna. Oh my gosh, you guys won? What the heck happened there?" Everyone's upset in Vegas because they bet and lost. And this and that. So it's just a super, super, super rewarding thing that happened for Denver fans, for Denver Broncos. Colorado's back on top, which I live in. It's just a really good feeling, to be the champs. And if you're if you're Carolina, um, well, first off, you feel stupid for, you know, making everyone else feel stupid all year and then looking stupid in the Super Bowl, and dabbing and bragging and all that stuff. I mean, you just feel horrible. Um, but I think they're gonna get back. I really think Cam's the biggest future quarterback of this league. I think even maybe above Luck. Though we'll have to see. There's a couple guys, Jameis Winston, Andrew Luck, um, Cam Newton, Russell Wilson, maybe Andy Dalton. I don't know about him. We'll see. That I think are future top players in this league. And as Manning, as Brady retire, we're gonna need some future people. Now I'm looking at the AFC because the only one that I can really see in the AFC, I haven't thought too hard about it, but the only one that I just named off in the AFC is Andrew Luck. We need somebody like in the AFC that's young and up and comer too, if we can find it. But I'm just trying to think of who it would be. Um, Because most of those guys I just named are in the NFC, which is actually bad news for them. I think I'd move to the AFC when my contract's up, maybe. Um, but it's tough. I don't think if you're Russell or you're Cam, I don't think you're leaving because you got your defenses. Um, Rawls is really good, up and comer. Marshawn Lynch is reportedly retiring. He tweeted out some pictures of his cleats or something during the Super Bowl. Um, so I'm just trying to think of who's young, who's up and coming. I guess technically Mariota's in the AFC, so we'll see how that turns out. Um, Blake Bortles could be one. He's young. He seems pretty good. It'll be interesting to see if Kaepernick goes to the Jets because he actually was saying he wants to go there, but I think the Jets were saying they got their guy, or Brandon Marshall was of the Jets at least. So we'll see what happens there. Oh yeah, and Peyton Manning might be going to the Rams. We'll have to see what happens with that. I think I said that last show maybe, but all in all, there's a lot of comments from Peyton about wanting to have alcohol, and then he mentioned he's a Christian, and myself being a Christian, I was kind of like, I don't think I would mention that I drink right after I say I'm a Christian. Um, just the two didn't seem to go too good together. Uh, and I'm not against having a beer or something every once in a while, but I just think that those two are not usually what you would throw out there together. It just seemed a little awkward, a little weird, or very weird. So, but yeah, I mean, super good Super Bowl. A lot of people saying it's ugly. A lot of people not really happy with it, but it was a game of beauty because it was a defensive game, which me as a Broncos fan this year, without our offense being good, I've actually acquired a taste for the defense. Like, just loving that team that I have as far as the defense and really just rooting and cheering them on, and it's just really become something that I like now. And I really think that if you're a team that doesn't have a quarterback, it's hard to replicate the exact Denver thing. Like, I think a lot of that is we just got super, like, I don't want to say lucked out, but there were a lot of I don't know, drafts, maybe signings. Definitely signings. I mean, if you look at Ware and this and that, that worked out really good for us. Um, Demarcus Ware actually, uh, I think, helping Vaughn become a better player too. Von Miller, who got the Super Bowl MVP, by the way. That's my boy right there. I could do without some of his like grabbing his nuts and different things like that, but um, and he was the anonymous. Apparently, he was trying to rub his junk in Brady's face. I think it was anonymous, but I mean, if he's always grabbing his balls out in the field, you can only assume he's the one that was trying to rub his face on Brady or rub his privates on Brady. So, but anyway, he didn't say balls necessarily, but anyway, we don't have to get into all the other things. But yeah, I mean, it's it's really interesting when you look at Denver and the run that they had, and it's just a very satisfying conclusion to what has been the weirdest, craziest season for the Denver Broncos. I mean, we've had times Peyton was way better. We've had times I thought we had a great defense, but apparently not this great. Um, and for things to turn out this way, and for past years when you'd think we'd have a better shot at the Super Bowl, to not go, to lose two or three times when Peyton's been in there. We lost the first playoff game, and for Peyton to get another Super Bowl, it feels really nice. I know people are never gonna give him that right, but at least he's got two. You know what I mean? Um, excuse me. And he's got the five MVP awards. He's had a very decorated career, regardless of what you want to say. And a lot of those guys, man, Josh Norman was crying. That was sad. Um, and a lot of those guys like Demarcus Ware, Von Miller, different players that I care about on the Broncos, they have their Super Bowl rings. If they never go to another Super Bowl, yeah, it will matter, but it's not going to matter that much. It's not like, oh, I never got to the big game. You know what I mean? So, um, it's just one of those things that you're happy for your guys. You're happy for your team. You can say we've had a Super Bowl in recent years. Um, and you always want more. Too bad we couldn't have that one back that Seattle uh, killed us for. Uh, you know, I mean they ran the score up like crazy, but they're just playing the game and trying to win and all that. But just saying, we got demolished. Um, they were a much better team. But it's just one of those things that's super nice, and I'm planning on buying I don't know, Von Miller jersey or something. I got my jerseys are like all old, pretty much. I got a Elway jersey from like 7 years ago. I got a Jay Cutler jersey from like, well, actually probably from 8 years ago or something. Uh, my Elway jersey is older than 7 years too, but it's not when he was playing. I also have a Elway or a Manning jersey, which is only a couple years old, and then, but I don't have any like super expensive jerseys except I got my Terrell Davis one that my uncle gave me, which was actually around from the era he was playing, so that's pretty cool. Um, but I gotta update my jerseys, so um, hey, really fast, have you guys checked out that new Madden game, the Madden 16? That is really cool. They made it much more of an actual game now. You gotta push the button to the receiver you're throwing, and then you gotta push another button, I think, to catch it in certain places or something like that. Or I'm trying to think of exactly what it is. But yeah, I think you gotta hit the button to the receiver, and then you hit another button for him to catch. And um, there's some different options for where to throw for the quarterback, and it's just a really cool game. I think it's the best Madden gameplay so far. It could be a little better, but just the fact that they changed things up enough where you're like, hey, this is more of a game now. Jeez, this is awesome. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Speaking of games, though, Firewatch comes out today. That's gonna be a very cool, very interesting game. Um, it's about I guess you're in Montana or something in the forest. You're a forest ranger. You got a walkie-talkie, talking to this lady, and you can discover things, I guess. And there's a really good story. I heard it's a really really good story. So guys, check that out. It's only on PS4 and PC. I think it comes out on PC today, but I'm not sure. I know it comes out on PS4 today. Um, but yeah, check that one out. But yeah, just a really good game for Denver. Uh, but I think yeah, going back to what I was saying earlier, if you don't have a quarterback, I think this is definitely a opportunity to win. Like because all you need can Alex Smith win a Super Bowl? That's a question that's been out there, and most of the time you would think no, but he's better than Manning was. Manning had one interception and only 100 something yards. I think we're the first team to have under 200 yards offense and win a game in the Super Bowl. Um, so it's the way it turned out was beautiful. I understand people thinking it's not sexy. Those guys were pressuring Kim all day long. Denver was. Um, I've heard an argument for Carolina being the better defense, but I think the only reason why they looked like they might have been better is because there wasn't a real quarterback in there. I think um, I don't know. That's hard to say, but I mean, if they had a guy that they felt like was a little better throwing or super accurate or something, I think he would have torn up the Panthers a little bit more. Whereas Cam Newton just got sacked and hit and was throwing balls off and was really pressured by our defense the whole day. So I think maybe we were better. I know Carolina made a ton of mistakes, which might ultimately be why we won. But I think it was also because of that defense as well. And Von Miller had 6 sacks. Oh no, sorry. 6 tackles, 2.5 sacks, and 2 forced fumbles. One of the touchdowns was defensive off of, I believe, Von Miller's forced fumble. And then the other forced fumble, I think, set up uh, a run from the offense from C.J. Anderson for a touchdown. So, just a really, really good, dominant day for the Denver Broncos. And, excuse me, a lot of that was, because the Panthers might have been nervous or whatever. But there's something to be said for what that defense did as far as pressuring people because you never felt like any of the quarterbacks were that good. I think there was only one offensive touchdown as far as from a quarterback during the whole playoffs, and you got to think that we played Brady, we played Roethlisberger, and we also played Cam Newton. And actually, all three of those guys are super hot this year. You know, Um, so they're definitely. I think people are saying they're top five defense. The Broncos are. I personally think that they're maybe top three, but I can't say that I've really followed all the other defenses. Um, but I mean, I think it's hard to beat a team that's super hot defensively, and especially if we had an offense to go with everything that we did. I understand Carolina was good, but I still question if they were better. Maybe they were, but I'm not so sure that they were. There's a lot of pressure that our defense put on Carolina that made them nervous, that made Cam overthrow. Um, and I'm not so sure that somehow the defense didn't cause the running back to fumble or made the running back nervous. I mean, I know people are making or I've heard somebody in ESPN trying to say that Carolina, they can make an argument, was the better defense. But unless you talk to Jonathan Stewart, unless you talk to Cam, who both would never admit that they were just nervous and had butterfingers. You know what I mean? But unless you talk to them and know the truth, you can't ever say that Denver wasn't the better defense in that Super Bowl game. Um, because seemed to be a whole lot of pressure. I think Cam got hit like 19 times maybe. Uh, for sure there was 7 sacks. And Cam Newton tried to say that there was nothing that Denver did that was special. We just made more plays and blah blah blah. But Denver was the better team. Von Miller was the better pick of 2011 yesterday. I'm not saying forever, but yesterday. And he was the second pick in the draft that year. Cam was the first. And Denver won, and it was just a super amazing game for me as a Broncos fan. So, um, yeah, it is. I mean, it is what it is. You know, super happy about it, about how it turned out, and definitely want to buy those Super Bowl 50 Bronco jerseys and wear them until next year because it feels good to have your team win it all. And I have said it before, I am a Panthers fan, but you got to go with your home team first, right? Or your team first. So, um, yeah, just big shout out to Denver Broncos. Obviously, they're probably not listening to this, but it's just it's a really good thing that they won, and I'm just super glad and happy about it. Um, it was a nasty game. I'm not really sure why Rivera thought he should challenge all those. It made sense at the beginning when you're thinking about how Carolina is going to cream Denver. It made sense to, hey, let's get this lead start. Let's get a touchdown before things get out of hand because we already had the lead at that point. But it came back to bite him because he couldn't challenge anything else because he got rid of his first two challenges before 2 quarters were even done. So, pretty silly move. I didn't think the coaching was that good on the Panthers side yesterday. Obviously, Wade Phillips is getting a lot of praise for what he did, and he should. I mean, he should be getting, um, what's the word? Some respect for what good coach he is. You know what I mean? That's all I mean. But um, yeah, definitely great coaching from the Broncos and uh, a Super Bowl win for Cougs. John Elway looks like the best executive ever. Um, Made a lot of good decisions, including drafting Von Miller, the Super Bowl MVP. I believe he did at least, and that was his first year. John Elway's first year back with the team in a different role, obviously not a player, but just crazy, bringing in his former backup quarterback Kubiak and as coach, and then they win. Just an amazing year. I'm excited to see what happens with Brock. Peyton Manning didn't say he was going to retire, so we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, I am Chris Roby from Hobby Collision. If you guys would like, go ahead and tweet us at Hobby Collision. And this has been the Super Bowl wrap up. Thank you guys for listening.